Hey everyone, it's Shivam, and it's been a while since we released our last episode, but today we have a really special guest. She's someone I've known for my whole life. She's someone that I hope can inspire all of you today, and after the podcast, she definitely inspired me and the changes I want to bring in my life. Here's Ashi. She's a marathon runner. She's lived almost all across the world, US, Singapore, India. She's trekked everywhere. She has a kid, adopted daughter, and she'll just talk about her life right now. And more than me explaining it, let's just hear it from her. Hi everyone, this is Ashi, and I've just told you everything that she's done, and it's so amazing actually just to have her here on my podcast. 48 countries, Kilimanjaro, cycling across England. How do you even introduce someone like you, Ashi?
Hey Shivam, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. Let me first begin saying how amazing and how proud I am because I have heard and seen you when you were very young, working with your mom, and seeing you do this is I feel very proud. So congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am.
And thank you for the generous introduction. Well, I think one thing that people don't know about me, well, I'm a continuous learner, and I think, and this is not just about when I'm at my work, it's across every phase of my life, and I have evolved and grown by venturing, trying new things at different phases of my life, at different stages of my life. And yeah, and I don't shy away from learning, and I don't ever let the experience or the age get in my way of believing that I know it all. I think there is still a lot for me to learn, and I will continue to do so. And that's what has, helped me get into a lot of these adventures personally, professionally. Also, I believe in pushing myself out of the comfort zone, and that's what has made me who I am today.
That's really nice. I think personally, I'm a believer that learning never ever stops. If you're 60, if you're 15, learning is just something, which is part of life. You can't stop your learning. Even if you're not looking to learn, just you'll
Absolutely.
always learn. You'll always learn. So, okay, let's talk about your
Yeah.
childhood. Were you always this adventurous growing up, or did this fire in you come alive later in life?
No, actually, it's very funny. My childhood, I grew up in a very traditional, conservative Madu family, but adventure was never part of my life. Even sports wasn't. I grew up. I mean, I went to a Catholic school. It was a very academic-driven school. I had a mother who was all about, getting grades, good marks, like typical Indian parent in 80s, how we were all brought up. I was the only girl amongst five boys in the house. So in that sense, I think the adventure did started there because I was always the bro in the house and never been treated like a girl. And in a very cliche manner, I was a tomboy. But my as I was growing, I think the only interest I had towards outside of getting good grades and trying to study was writing. So I had actually dreamt of becoming a journalist, wanted to write more, wanted to pursue my writing, but never ever thought of, that I would be capable of playing any sports. Although I did enjoy watching sports while I was growing up, but nothing. I really didn't play any sport growing up, and neither did I had any inclination towards it just because I didn't have enough exposure to it. But so no, my childhood was like a typical Indian childhood in
Yeah.
80s where we were all brought up to believe that either I have to be an MBA or a doctor or an engineer, and these were my only options. But my love actually lied in writing and journalism.
Okay, so that's very interesting. I think most of my audience here is almost everybody can relate to what you've said right now. Most people, of course, Indian parents they always say that you need to do something traditional in life, but there's always that fire in you which makes you say, you know what, no, I want to do this, I want to do something else. Like for you, it would have been writing, it would have been, doing Kilimanjaro, it would have been cycling, and I just think that's very interesting, and that's actually very amazing, personally.
Mm.
Yeah. So. Okay,
Yep.
so after this, you've spent a decade in the US. What's a story from that time that still makes you smile right now?
Oh, well, yeah, I think US happened. I mean, I moved to the US to pursue my master's. It was one of those tick boxes of getting an MBA done in the US. Actually, the funny story behind that was, when I went to my parents saying I want to pursue journalism, they said, well, that's not even an option. Like, is that even a real job or even a real career? And I don't blame them, when back in the day, the avenues were very far and few. So they gave me an option: either we find you a boy and you get married, or you go to the US and study. And I'm like, obviously, no brainer. So that's how I picked. And I went for my GMATs and I went through the whole 9 years. And I think I was about 21 when I moved to the US. And that time was actually my first ever, phase of living by myself, figuring things out. I came from a big joint 18 people family to living alone, figuring out groceries, figuring out finances, figuring out even how to cook, feed myself, all of it. And I am extremely grateful for that phase. And in that journey of figuring things out is when I actually recognized this love of fitness in me. And I remember, I didn't have enough money to entertain myself in the US. So it's not like now where kids, and we didn't have cell phones. There was very little to do, and I obviously was like a meager Indian student who didn't have enough money. So most of the time when we had breaks, we would just go to the gym or, the university gym and stuff. And around then, I think I made some new friends who was into playing squash. And they said, hey, why don't you join us, and why don't learn squash? And I said, okay, that would be interesting. And that's how I would then just play with them an hour every day. And I actually started enjoying it. I actually started enjoying to the gym. I actually started enjoying running. And I kind of like, oh, this is something I want to continue pursuing. So that love for fitness that recognized in me in the US stays with me till date, and I owe it to the US. Also, I think that phase has taught me a lot. It has taught me the value of money. I did a lot of odd jobs because I didn't have enough money to, pay for my living expenses. I had taken a loan. My parents had taken a loan in India, which I felt responsible for paying back. So I did a lot of odd jobs, which in India you wouldn't even think of, working at night in 7-Eleven, cash jobs, as a cashier, as a cleaning machines. I've worked in an Indian store. And, things that you don't value or how you don't see, in India, when you generally see people who wait tables or something, you don't have that much of value for the hard work they put behind. But actually, when I did all of this, I think, and US allows you to do it, and they treat you with so much of respect, and the respect for labor, that has something stayed with me even till date. And I think that had changed a lot of perspective in terms of how I value money and how I value the savings that I need to bring in the table, or how I even look at, or the respect for the labor even when I go anywhere now, because you have seen that side, the other side of things. So I think US was my learning ground for a lot of things. It was this very young girl, completely blank slate, moving into a new territory, new country, and willing to learn, willing to change, willing to adapt. At the same time, I think thanks to my parents and my grandparents, I think they also helped me keep me rooted into what my core value systems were, and that something has stayed with me. So I owe US and that phase of university, and then moving to my first paid job, and moving to Coke, and living in different cities and making friends. I mean, actually, friends were the other big gift US gave me, because when you are out of your country and you're out of your comfort zone, your friends take the place of your family, and those friends become irreplaceable for life. And I'm lucky to be still in touch with a few of them. I learned a lot from them, and some of them are my like lifelong friends today. One of them is godmother to my daughter. So I think a lot of learnings, lot of understanding and the awareness about who I am, what I really enjoy, what I really can do, realizing my potential, my love for fitness, my love for sports. It all started in the US. Towards my last few years in the US, when I moved to Atlanta, the city in South, it allowed that city is, from a weather perspective, you can actually have a bike, and you can cycle around. That's when I learned and that's when I learned that I actually even enjoy cycling. So I bought a hybrid bike. I bought, which I then continued cycling when I moved to London for my next stint. So I think my love for adventure, outdoor sports, fitness was all started in the US during my university days through meeting different people, through pushing myself, exploring new things. I even tried skydiving while I was there. So all came about because of the exposure I got, and I took advantage of that exposure. So yes, I that decade had really shaped me to the person I am today.
Yeah.
Sorry, it was a long answer, but
No, 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 it's amazing actually. It's really wild to think that picking up a squash racket in university might have been the butterfly effect moment for you. That small choice set off this whole chain of adventure, cycling across countries, climbing mountains, trekking Kilimanjaro, going to London.
yeah.
It's that next phase in your life. Do you ever think back and wonder how different life would have been if you hadn't gone, you hadn't pushed yourself, you hadn't tried squash?
Well, yeah, I think if I didn't really push myself to go to that gym and or meet those friends or try different things, I would probably not be as adventure seeking as I am now. But also, I think somewhere I always believe somewhere it must be part of my personality all along. It's just that while I was with my family, you have a very safe, secure life, and plus I grew up most of my life in Ahmedabad. You don't have those opportunities there to even explore that side of yours. So I do believe it must be always within me. And the one of the best part which I forgot to mention, one of the things what I always realized while I was in India is there was a lot of this consciousness about being judged when you even take on something new or do something new, and that fear of being judged that didn't allow me to even try on a lot of things. And I think the best part about the US and this bunch of friends in the university who tried to say, oh, let's play, and I was like, you're gonna make fun of me because I'm really bad at it, and trust me, I was. And they were like, doesn't matter, like it's not like you're going to go and play in a tournament or you're gonna be, I mean, we all are learning. And they actually really, we all cheered each other up while we were trying to play a new sport. Or even when I did like a 10K in US in while I was in university, and I was like, they're going to be laughing because I won't be running as fast as these guys do, because the Americans really run like they are runners. And but didn't really matter. And the more you meet people who make you feel comfortable being yourself, or make you feel comfortable or not judge you for being not as good as you wish to be, I think it kind of even encourages you and pushes you to do a lot more. So even till date, whatever I only enjoy learning sport. I'm not good at it, and I'm aware about it. I wasn't good at playing squash either, but I enjoyed it and I enjoyed learning it. Even today, when I'm trying to learn tennis, I know I'm not good at it, but I enjoy learning it. I enjoy the whole process of learning it. So that's I think where I saw a big difference in terms of how being that. And now that has also taught me that I need to be that person around the people around me, non-judgmental, accepting them, cheering them up, doesn't matter, not really pushing for perfection, but really just being a cheerleader to them. And so that's what I try to do with my friends around here when they want to try something new or want to do something new, so that they should, because you never know what will come out of it.
Yeah, I completely understand that. To be in a state, in an environment where people are accepting of you, where you're comfortable with them, that's really when you blossom. And I can see that in my life as well. I'm sure everyone
Yep.
sees it in their own. So fine, we've set the scene. You spent nearly a decade in the US. You discovered squash, got that first taste of adventure. And what came next then? A whole chapter, whole new chapter in your life. You moved to London, picked up cycling, even started taking on these long distance rides. London to Oxford, London to Windsor. I've been to London. Like I went there a year back, and I just know that even driving it takes a long time to go from these areas. So I just I find that really really impressive. And then the
Oh, you are better off, trust me, you are better off cycling to these areas than driving.
yeah,
London
this
roads are
traffic.
not made to drive. They are made to cycle or a horse cart.
Yeah, I completely agree. And then even after that, the 100-kilometer marathon. So tell me about that shift. How did life after US evolve into this? Like, where did you know that you want to take that next push into your life, where you decided, this is what my life is going to be now. This is the adventure that I want.
Well, it was never like, oh, this is what I want to do, or this is what happened was when my company moved me to London. Now, London is like polar opposite to US in terms of, I mean, you have been there, so it's a very gloomy weather.
Yeah.
like 10 months a year it's like dark and gloomy and the weather is always like cold or raining, and then there are just 3 months of summer that you get. And so being it was very difficult. And I'm, one of the other, one of my weaknesses is unless I don't push myself to sign up for something, I am not a self driven person to just want to go to a gym and and just exercise. So the way it works is I'll sign up for something and then I'll work backwards to train for it. And that's how I push myself, or I drive myself to go into the fitness. With London, I think initial first 6 to 8 months, I was traveling like constantly between countries, and then we lived like literally 2 hours away from the airport. So mostly I was on the road or on the flight, and my fitness had gone for a toss because in that cold weather, if I have to just step out of the house, it would be only to go to work. To the idea, and they don't have complexes where they have gyms in the building, so you'll have to sign up for some gym, you have to walk or take a tube or something. So there was no real motivation for me to really. I really got lazy. But something then, and of course we were eating out. I was ordering in because no help, no cooking. So it really. I think I was losing my fitness, and I wasn't really liking that. I also had this eye disease with an autoimmune thing that had come up, which where I would just lose my eyesight for a bit for some time, and I had to go through all of those treatments, which because of which I had put on a lot of weight. And then I think somewhere something changed, and we were like, okay, no, this is not the life I want, and this is not how I want to see. I didn't like what I was looking in the mirror, and then I had colleagues at work who would come and, would come to office biking all the way from like Richmond or Wembley and all of those areas. And I'm like, hey, why not? So at that point, I bought a hybrid, and we signed up. There was a London to Brighton, which was an almost from my house to Brighton, it's 100 kilometers. A marathon, and they said, why don't we just sign it? So I signed up, and that's how I then, to train for that, I started pushing myself to, bike short distance, long distance, getting used to the stamina. I went started going to the gym, and that's when the first London to Brighton there was, and it was really, really amazing. It took us 9 hours, 9, 10 hours to reach to Brighton. It was extremely exhausting, but I'm glad I did it. I finished it, and after that, I started enjoying the cycling bit. And funny bit is there are lanes in London that will help you reach to places like in a shorter distance than taking tube, and definitely not taking a car. So I started like couple of times started biking to work, which was 11 kilometers from where I lived. I lived in Canary Wharf, and my office was in central London. And then my colleagues were very active. So a lot of my colleagues would do weekend trips to Windsor, biking trips to Oxford, and I said, and they were like, again, they were like super athletes. Like they would ride at 20, 30 kilometers kind of speed, and yet they really encouraged me, said, Ashi, why don't you come for one of those trips with us next time? And I did, and obviously I couldn't keep up with their pace, but they all really like cheered me up, encouraged, and there were uphills where I would really struggle. So they would like wait, and I would push myself. And so London was really about, from a fitness perspective, wasn't my best phase. But that's when I started getting into the thing that I signed up there was the really picked up was the cycling bit, which had already started a year before I moved to London while I was living in Atlanta. So I kind of glad that I did it. Otherwise, it was. I mean, London. The adventure that I did was traveling. So I traveled. It's a very convenient country to travel around the world. So I did a lot of traveling, personal, professional. Even if I would go to some place for work, and if it's an interesting place, I would extend my travel or over the weekend and do something. So that I did a lot of that. But on the fitness or the adventure bit, I think cycling, I really took on to cycling and I really enjoyed it. In fact, that cycle that I bought in London, I had it up until I think 2 years back here all the way. I think I moved it from London to Singapore to Gurgaon to now Bangalore. And then now because Bangalore is the worst city to bike as such, and I've never got on that bike ever since I moved to Bangalore. So I then, gifted it to my brother in Ahmedabad, and he has it, or I don't know if he has it. But that was my that phase in London. But yeah, I mean, if I don't really push myself or sign up
So
for
interesting, and it
anything
actually
that
seems a lot
is,
of fun actually. After
physically challenging, I'm not motivating, and I mean, I'm not driven enough to just exercise to stay.
yeah, that's really amazing. I know this quote which I've read about earlier, and it just says life is like riding a bicycle, and to keep your balance, you must keep moving. And I think in your life, the bicycle
Oh
or
yes,
cycle was literally the thing that kept you moving forward. So your time in London.
absolutely. I don't know if I kept the balance though.
Yeah. So your time in London feels like a chapter where, cycling really, really became your thing, not just as a sport, but as your way of life. You weren't just doing casual rides. To London, with all those marathons, long distance rides, you moved to Singapore. And that seemed like the place where your adventures really leveled up. And you told me about how you went to, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, on a hike to Kota Kinabalu, which is the highest peak in Malaysia.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you learned diving in the Philippines.
yeah.
What was that phase of life like for you? What was it like the next step? And what pushed you to go from cycling to hiking to even like the highest peak in Malaysia? It just seems like a huge jump. So what, inspired you? How did you reach there?
Look, when we moved to Singapore, Singapore is one of the cities which promotes a lot of outdoor activity, staying active. Again, the weather is very favorable, the roads, the conditions, the parks, it's very green. So it anyways allows you to, like continue on your fitness journey. Most of the, apartments are like Gurgaon where they have gyms within the building. So it kind of allows you to utilize all of that. I think, I mean, the person I was actually married to, my ex-husband, was also into outdoor, and I think he kind of also helped in kind of, and when both of you actually enjoy doing the same thing, I think that also and it kind of becomes motivating factor for each other to sign up for these things. So Kota Kinabalu just happened because of it, because he had heard about Kota Kinabalu, which is like, until then I've done very short leisure hikes in the US, which is more like camping than hiking. This was the first summit kind of a hike where we signed up for it, and again, when you sign up is what, then I work backwards and then I start training aggressively. I mean, I don't slack off then. And that's how Kota Kinabalu happened. And I think when we climbing Kota Kinabalu is where I actually realized that I love hiking and trekking and being in the nature, and that kind of something stayed with me. Philippines, we were on a family trip where a lot of we were like 18 of us, family reunion in one of the nicer islands, quieter islands of Philippines, and there was a bunch of my entire family did they all went for a PADI certificate, and hence as part of their PADI certification, diving was obviously part of it. So that's and I don't swim, and that's my biggest regret in life. I do not know how to swim. I haven't learned swimming, but I love water sports, whether it's kayaking, whether it's canoeing, and whether it's now diving. So that was my first venture, or first time I actually dived in the open waters, and it was beautiful. And yeah, so that's how happened. But Singapore, during that 4 years of living in Singapore, again a lot of travel across Asia, mostly for work, but also I think Singapore is where actually I became a lot more disciplined with my health, because I also had a lot of health issues. So I kind of became a lot of disciplined with my fitness, with my health, with making sure I continue my workouts. I continue to do something or the other, whether it's running. So I even signed up for Sundown Marathon, which was a 10K after sunset. You kind of run. So I was continuously into running, or we signed up for these small activities within the city, and the city always had enough events where you can do a lot of these things. I think one of the most interesting experiences I had was, I think when I went to this place in Puerto Rico, and we were canoeing in middle of the night, and it was like pitch dark. There was no light. You just had your headlamp, and you are actually kind of kayaking on a canoe in middle of the mangroves, and you reach to this bay which kind of lights up. It's like the life of the Pi scene, and that was one of my. And this is while I think I was living in Singapore and I traveled to Puerto Rico for work, and that was one of my most. Until then, that was one of my most adventurous thing I've done because at midnight you are canoeing. I mean, you are kayaking, and it was just beautiful. So I think that phase is when I think it was a full of highs and lows. I mean, that was not an easy phase of my life, both physically, mentally, emotionally. I think being fit, having all these adventures actually even helped with my mental wellness, actually helped me stay strong through this high and go through these highs and lows of life. And I really would advise most of, I mean, your listeners, and I'm sure they are like young, old, but whatever age group you are, I think pick up a sport at any given stage in your life, pick up fitness, don't give up exercises no matter how hard the day looks like, because that's one thing I learned, and that is something that has stuck with me till date, where I think I anytime I'm struggling with an emotional or a mental kind of a low, I lean into my physical fitness. I challenge myself physically. That makes me actually not just strong physically but even stronger mentally, and that's how Kilimanjaro happened, which I will speak to you about it in a bit. But yeah, so that was my picking up my phase in Singapore. That I think it was. I safely say it was my fittest phase of my life.
So everything you just talked about right now is so inspirational, and it just brings a smile to my face actually just hearing about all this, because it's also something that I want to do in the future. Like right now till now, I think I was 13 when I did the Everest Base Camp trek, and I think I've been wanting to build on that ever since. Like I went to Everest Base Camp, I played the tabla on the base camp, and I got a world record for doing that. And I really want to build on that. I've not gotten the time to do that because I'm in like 11th right now, and I've just finished my boards. But I still just have that feeling of wanting to start adventure again. And I just hearing you, I'm just finding that very inspirational. So you
Look, Shivam, before we move forward, I think I do want to say congratulations. I mean, EBC at 13, it's no mean feast. I mean, you have done. Most kids your age are mostly clueless about what they want in their lives, spending times on it. I mean, I'm not judging anybody, but I think it's very inspiring. I really wish my daughter can follow these footsteps, because that's really commendable. So congratulations. I think
Thank you.
I was your age. I wouldn't have imagined any of this, honestly. Like, so great job.
Yeah, thank you, Ashi. I think more inspiring than me, I think it's my brother as well. He was 8 when he did Everest Base Camp, and that was actually a full family's first ever trek. So I just think it was really, really
Oh wow.
impressive. Yeah. So, okay, moving forward, you
Yes.
talked about how you've gone to 48 countries. I've read your profile. You've 48 countries, that's just crazy. You've climbed some of the toughest peaks, cycled across, cities. You're raising a daughter who now loves adventure too. Looking back on all these experiences, traveling solo, pushing yourself in sports, becoming a mother, going to these countries, how has it shaped you? Like, just give some overview on the countries you've been to. How has it shaped you now? Anything that you've learned from those countries which you wouldn't have learned in maybe London or India, any other traditional, countries people go to?
I think absolutely. Look, traveling actually is opens your horizon to life like nothing else does. And even, I mean, I love reading, and I'm an avid reader. And I think, and I encourage people to pick up this habit of reading. But I think if you enjoy travel, and when I say travel, it's not just like fancy resorts and stuff, it's just like really travel to explore. It kind of opens up your horizon to different avenues of life. You start seeing, it gives you perspective to things. The different cultural nuances. I think, and it kind of and it comes to you very subtly. It's not because I'm traveling. It's, I think, the collective experience of being open to collective experience of being open to working in different cultures, working with people from different cultures, traveling in different countries with different cultures, kind of makes you a lot humble. It kind of, gives you a perspective that not you don't know it all. And most importantly, it has taught me one of the most important lesson, which is lesson of accepting people for who they are, and letting them be. I think this is very important. Now, each one of us, no matter where we are in our careers, what roles we play, what age we are, one of the most basic human instinct is we all love to be loved. We all love to be valued for who we are. We all love to be appreciated and accepted for who we are. And it kind of, you know, wrong or right, and during 80s, at least when we were growing up, that wasn't the case. We were grown up, at least I was grown up to be made to be people pleasers, or we always were been told to be certain way or do a certain thing. I think when you go meet people of different cultures, where you see them being so comfortable under their skin, being so secure about who they are, I think that's what I've learned. And it is not just, like I said, about just traveling in these 48 countries. It's meeting people, working in different countries, working with people in different countries. All of that collectively has really made me this person where I really want to be this person where people can feel comfortable being themselves, whether it's my team, whether it's my friends, whether it's my family, where I am more patient about or accepting of who they are. And that's what it really boils down to in life. And yeah, so that is where my one of the biggest lesson I have learned from traveling or from meeting people of different orientations, of different cultures, or different setups. And I would recommend that, and like what you said, I think it's amazing that kids your age, if they actually invest behind experiences, I think that's what is going to get you further along than just your degrees or good grades. I'm not undermining the role of good degrees and good grades, but I think the life experiences kind of adds almost 10x value to your degrees and your grades, because this experience of you trekking at 13, or your brother trekking at 8, playing tablas, all of these experiences is what you will remember, and you will tell your stories to your grandchildren, not what grades you would have gotten in grade 11th or 12th. I'm sure you are a bright kid and you're Pallavi's son, so I don't have any doubt with that. But I think the more whatever you can invest in the experiences of life, whether it's traveling, backpacking, spending time with new cultures, understanding the lives of different people. I think that will really add like a lot of meat and substance to your personality than what just a uni degree can do. I mean, that's what I believe. That's what I want for my kid as well.
Yeah, so I completely agree. I think as important as a degree is in today's world, it's something which even I think is more important is actually your own life experiences. Because most of the stuff, the way AI is taking over now, most of the stuff, degrees and everything, you don't even need to really
Absolutely,
do
yeah.
so much on that. It's more about what you do, like character development basically, is what you do.
Yes,
Cool. So
absolutely.
after this part in your life, after the Philippines, after that, you moved back to India. What made you move back to India?
Oh, that is simple. It was actually, I mean, we separated and we got divorced while I was in Singapore. So I was ready to move to a different country from a work perspective. And I had a choice. Either I go back to the US, there was another role in the US, and they had offered me another, and they offered there was a role in India. Now, US, I had lived, I had no intention of going back and living that life. So I thought, why not India? I haven't worked in India before. The role that they were offering is something I have not done. Again, it kind of ties back to seeking things out of my comfort zone. The role that I had in the US, obviously, from the exteriors of it would have been a great role on the CV, but I've done it. It was familiar territory, a bigger role, but a familiar territory, while India would be an unknown territory. I've never worked in India until then in my life. So, and it was coming back home. So that's how I said, why not? And I moved to Gurgaon that year. That's when I actually met your mom, and we were working together. It was a lot of fun. So that's how India happened in 2016.
Okay, work led you back to India, and then what did you do when you came to
Yeah.
India?
The first, I honestly struggled the first year in India. I think I wasn't sure whether it was India, whether it was Gurgaon, whether it was the SCCB, the company I was working for. I wasn't sure. Or was it really that I haven't given myself the time to process a lot of personal changes I was dealing with? Whatever it was, I was struggling. And like I mentioned earlier, every time I've struggled mentally or emotionally, I have pushed my physical boundaries. I somehow don't know, something inside me tells me. So that's how I signed up for Stok Kangri. So as soon as I landed, I think in April, in May, end of June, I signed up for Stok Kangri, which is one of the highest non-technical peak. It's 6,153 meters, and it's 11-day trek in Leh. So, and you summit through the night. So I trained for that. So in August, I went to 11-day trek to Stok Kangri, and it was something completely unexpected. I didn't expect it, A, to be this hard, B, it to be this long, but this was the longest first time I've ever done a 11-day trek to Stoke, and I think I missed the summit by 400 meters because it snowed and I was out of breath. But we started that night. I will never forget, because we started peaking the summit at about 9 p.m. We reached up about 5:30, and we had to walk through the glaciers and that whole night, and then had to come down. So I got sick, and at about 5:30 I turned around because it was a snowstorm. But I think while I was really hard on myself for not being able to summit, but I think that experience had really made me tough. It kind of again brought me back my mental emotional stability. But I think it also gave me a clarity that I need to really give myself a break. I think I've been working non-stop. I've been going on and on about a lot of these changes that have happened personally, and these are some big ones, life-changing ones. So I took a sabbatical of 7 months, and which the company said, okay, you can take a break, come back. And in that sabbatical, I actually went on to a different kind of adventure, where I went and stayed in a tribal village in Pench. And I started teaching there. A friend of mine was running a small NGO, and I was speaking to him, and he said, well, if you want to get involved. And I said, no, I don't want to get involved from the distance. I want to come there and live and teach. So I went there, I lived there. During my break, I started teaching, and something inside me moved. And I started a scholarship for these kids, which is still going on to a large extent. And I would go now for the next couple of years. I've been going there every year until, of course, COVID happened, and it kind of put a pause to it. But, staying in that village, seeing the conditions in which these kids want to grow, they are still all motivated. It kind of moved things inside me, and it kind of made me value what I have, because first, these kids have nothing and yet they can be happy, and secondly, it's like I almost felt like I owe them, like I should be really doing more for them, and that's what changed in me. And around that same time, I even applied for adoption because I always wanted to have a kid in my life. So I went through that process, and I came back, moved to Bangalore, and joined the company again. But that was again a kind of what you call a part two of my life, where I kind of had a mini reset, where a lot of things within me changed, a lot of things externally changed, where new country, for me it was a new country from a work perspective, but also that was the first time I learned to slow down from a work standpoint, or like there could be more to life than just a corporate job. It's the first time I got that preview to it, because all along, while I was always adventurous and I seek external adventure and I tried doing a lot of these things, one thing that was always constant is I was a workaholic, like a corporate slave, if I can call myself. And I didn't want to change, and I liked that about me, and I didn't want to change that about me. I think the break in 2017 kind of put me on I took a back seat, and I saw things at 30,000 feet, and I really said, maybe this is not all there is to life.
Yeah, I completely agree. There should always be this balance in life, like we were talking about earlier, like riding a bicycle. And I think when you found that balance, of course, you might have in 2017, it just, really resets and sets your life forward for the future. So, what did you
Yep.
do after India? So, in 2018, I know you signed up for climbing Machu Picchu in Peru. How was that like? The solo adventure? You joined the local
Oh,
company,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. So yeah, that was really good. So I moved to Bangalore in 2018. I had applied for adoptions. I was on a long wait list. It was going to be another 2.5 years before I would have my daughter. So I thought, why not, do all these long distance travel before I have a kid, because then I might not be able to do it. Machu Picchu has been on my list for a while to travel, so I just one fine day booked a flight to Peru, and then I didn't know anybody in India who wanted to join me to do that, so I found out a local company who takes a bunch of people on the Inca Trail. So yeah, I traveled to Peru and I did this 4 day. Now that was actually hard because I was the only Indian and I was the only Indian vegetarian. And there were these 12 people from different parts of the world, Australians, mostly Australian Kiwis, and then Americans, and then two Chinese. But they were really fast and I had hard time keeping up with them. So what a day for them would be 8, 9 hours. For me, it would be 11 hours because I was that slow and I didn't really have too much of time because I was in a very demanding role. So I didn't have too much of time to even train for Machu Picchu. But luckily, nothing really happened. It's just that I was slow. But again, during that time also I reminded myself that it's okay. I don't have to worry about it. Even if they judge, they judge. Big deal. At least I need to finish the trek. And that's how, we completed the trek in it was a 3 day, 3 night, 4 day trek in Inca. Beautiful. It was dampened and raining most of the time, but the Amazonian forest was really, really nice. And then I stayed back in Cusco for a few more days, did some bit of traveling sightseeing, and then I went to the US. So that was again an interesting adventure. The following year, again 2019, I traveled to Jordan and Israel. I had a friend traveling with me to Jordan, and again it was really beautiful. And then Israel, I did a solo trip. One of the best countries I can say I have traveled so far, and all of this because I thought I would not be able to do once my daughter comes. And then 2 months later, 2020, literally a day before the lockdown, 19th March 2020, I brought my daughter home. She was 3 months old. And then a different adventure started from there on, which is still ongoing, and I'm sure it's a lifetime adventure now.
Yeah, so of course it must have been a miracle, first of congratulations on getting your daughter, and especially a day before lockdown. Imagine, even one day later, and the full trajectory of both of your lives would have
Oh,
changed.
yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Literally, I had to go to Patna, and the day I flew from Patna, next day the Patna airport shut. So if I wouldn't have flown that same day, which wasn't the original plan, I would have been stuck in Patna for God knows how many months.
Yeah, just again, just think about everything that had to fall in place for this to happen.
Yes,
It's just so
absolutely.
extraordinary. So, talk about your next adventure then with your daughter. How was that, especially during COVID?
Oh, yeah. COVID was, I think, yeah, COVID was an adventure for almost all of us, right? I think mine was like I had this newborn baby. I don't know, like I was very nervous. I think even a small sneeze and I would be scared. She wasn't the healthiest baby of all. She won't drink too much milk. She won't eat as much. So obviously there were a lot of this midnight emergency trips, and during COVID, going to an hospital was the worst nightmare one could have. Unfortunately, during the same time, my mother was also diagnosed with tumor, like brain tumors. She was going through her journey of cancer, and I wanted to be there for her. I had to be there for her. So between a newborn and my mom's treatment, I think, and I also then got COVID myself in the same year. So just too much going on. My daughter also had to go through a surgery at the same time. So I think mentally, emotionally, I think physically, I was exhausted, but was taking it all in a stride, knowing that this too shall pass. I think with my daughter, this health scare lasted up until she was almost a year and a half, and then it kind of settled down, luckily. And which is when I think I made the second toughest decision of quitting my company. And I've been with Coke for about, until then, I was been with them for 17 years. Even though I'd just gotten the promotion, I was like, I really can't do this kind of a role. I was in sales. I'd moved to sales. So I got an opportunity in Bangalore, which was, it seems, slower, better life. And I quit and I joined a new company. While at that point in time seemed like a right decision, I think a year later, I wasn't really much happy there. Culturally, it didn't feel right. Also, my mom was not well. She needed more of my time. So I had to make a choice where I had to be emotionally and mentally stress free. So anything that adds any kind of other stress, I was willing to let go of. And that's when I quit even that new company, and I decided to take a break to be there for myself, for my daughter, and for mom. And that's again, the pattern continues where at any given point of time when I'm emotionally low and I'm mentally down, I resort to physical challenge. And that's when I signed up for Kilimanjaro. I remember, I think there was this Amitabh Bachchan movie, Unchai, which was all about EBC. And I just come back and I said, you know what, I haven't done a trek in a while. It's the last trek I did was Machu Picchu, and why don't I just sign up? So October, I think the movie had come, I came home, I signed up, I spoke to my family whether they would be okay to come while I'm gone because my daughter needed to be taken care of. I already had a nanny and a good support. So they were reluctant because why would you do a trek now and all of that? But eventually, if not, I had a backup. My friend agreed to it. But then my parents came around. They said, fine, we will come and we'll stay. And then I started really training hard for Kili. And because this time I really wanted to summit. And so, yeah, I mean, a lot of climbing. I would climb like, I was living in this building which has 31 floors and 3 towers. So I would climb up and down all the 3 towers. It's almost about 35 floors. So almost about 105 floors every day with a backpack. I would wear a mask and climb so that I can breathe in a less oxygen area. And I would do a lot of meditation, deep meditation, because I really needed to pace myself while climbing. So I did a lot of training then, and then the time came. I went to Kili, and one of the things I did is I took a poster of Miraya, and it says "I love you, Miraya," and I'd imagined every time I used to train, I would imagining myself on the peak of Kili with that poster and a photo. And that kind of like, okay, this is my motivation to reach the summit. And that's what happened. And Kili, of course, was actually tough. The summit was tough. So the summit was almost as tough as Stok, and it was minus 6-7 degrees. I think up until like 4 a.m. there was this girl who was ready to give up, and I said no. There were groups, and then people who were fast, they go in a different group. People who are slower, they go on a different group. So this girl and I had paired up, and I said, look, we'll just pace ourselves. We're not in a rush. So we'll climb up. And about 4:30 in the morning, as we were there, almost half the distance on the mountain, she said, I don't think I can do it because I'm starving and I'm cold. And so we had like this goo gels, and I said, you know what, if you give up, then now is not the time. So we kind of, pushed each other. But all this while, every time I felt like I can't go any further, I always thought of that poster in my bag that was with me, which had my daughter's picture in it. And I said, no, I need to go up and take that photo. And we finally made it. So we started at about 9:30 at night in Kili, and we reached up about 6:37, and it was extremely cold and windy. And I got that photo with that poster, and I kind of climbed down, and it was one of the most memorable experiences of my life. You should do Kili. If you can do EBC at 13, you will easily be able to do Kili. Kili is not, for you it will be a lot easier, I'm sure. Please go ahead and do Kili.
I think before Kili, I need to complete one of the toughest journeys of my life, which is reaching college. But then after that, I'm sure I'll do.
I'm sure you put this on your resume of your college. Every college will want you. Trust me. That EBC at 13 and running a podcast. You have enough on your enough meat on your in your college essays.
Yeah, I'll keep that in mind. So, I was just thinking while you were talking that, you helping that girl, it was like you were in the footsteps of the people that actually helped you in US. The friends that, inspired you, let's push this, let's do
Yes,
that, squash,
yes,
etc. You were there in that
yes.
footstep. So it's just a full circle moment, isn't it?
It is, and I think that's how I've learned. I mean, I've had people who have pushed me not to give up, and yes, and subconsciously, probably, I think it was in me to not let her give up because I've been in that place that she was, where it feels like going forward is just impossible, and you kind of and in that summit night, both Stok Kangri and Kili, it's so gruesome that you start really questioning if yourself, अरे कभी और कर लेंगे, ये सब क्यों कर रहे हैं लाइफ में, we can, why am I signing up for this? Why am I pushing myself? I'm wearing 7 layers of clothes. It's minus 6 degrees. Even if I want to pee, I don't feel like peeing because I'll have to like go through this whole mess. So you do go through all of this. So it's really, I think and I'm sure EBC is the same way. After a point, it becomes a mental game than a physical.
Yeah.
It's really about you mentally wanting to go up to the summit, and your body just follows it. It's really that, and I think Kili was just that. I think that time between 4 to 6:37 till the time we reached, it was just constantly. First of all, I was praying very hard, chanting very hard, and it was constantly reminding myself, look, I cannot give up, and I constantly reminded myself of that photo or that picture I had imagining me holding that poster on the summit and taking that photo of my daughter. So that is what kept me going. I mean, otherwise, physically, we all were dead.
Yeah, makes sense. I'll quickly summarize what EBC was like for me because I can go on and on about it, but I'll just summarize. Look, I did EBC with my full family, me, my mother, my dad, and my little brother. First day, it
Oh,
was supposed to
nice.
be the easiest. It was a 4 hour just uphill just to acclimatize basically. And that's the day which was the worst for us because we were told it was the easiest. And we realized that, if the easiest day is so tough, what are we, like, what the hell are we in for? Because we know that in the,
Yeah.
like, 2 days from now, we have to do a 12-hour trek. Full day, we have to be there. So if this is 4 hours, what do we do? And like literally everybody in the family broke down. Actually, my brother Arjun, he started crying. Everyone was so done, and we were just so close. Like, we only went 4 hours up, and how hard would it be just to go back down that much? So I think that was the toughest day for us because it was, again, as you said, it was more mental than physical actually. And I think after a couple of
Absolutely,
days
yeah.
of trekking, the 12-hour trek wasn't really that tough. That's what I think at least. Even though we were there the full day, we actually ran out of water in the middle and we couldn't buy anything over there. So
Wow.
it was crazy, but I don't even think that was one of the toughest days because we were actually acclimatized. And then we'd gone there in like summer, in the middle of summer, and it started snowing randomly. And then started like thunderstorming and hailing and all that. We got so scared,
Oh, that's the toughest part.
Yeah.
To trek or even walk in that snow and thunderstorm is the hardest. Like nothing worse than that. Like if the weather stays consistent, then you can manage it. But if the weather fluctuates, it kind of makes acclimatization even harder.
Yeah, and it just really, really
But at
became.
any point, did you feel like you can't do this? Like at any given point during your 14-day trek?
I think I never thought I could do it. I'm being completely honest with you right now. From the start,
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
because I never trekked before this. Before this, all I did was like some 5 day camp where one of those days we went to trek and it was not even that good of a trek. So this was actually a first proper trek. No experience as well. No training because the day before we actually left, I had just finished my finals of that year, and just from that day, I just went and we all did the trek. In fact, I think the only thing that kept me going personally was I had to prove a lot of people wrong because the school, in fact, had like 1 year prior to this, the school took a bunch of students to EBC, and my dad just told me like, why can't you do it? You should also have done it. I'm like, I literally, I can't do it, and he's like, yeah, I know you can't do it, and I'm just like, I can say I can't do it, but like if you say I can't do it, then I have to do it now. And that's why I just, I pushed and I'm like, I'm gonna do this now. And that's what really pushed me to keep going. I just couldn't quit
No,
when
that's
like that.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's my dream. Like, if So my daughter right now is 5.5, and so far she's showing a lot more athletic bent. So she loves her tennis and she goes to swim and gymnastics and all that. And my ideal, like like, at this point, my only dream is like she becomes like you. Like at the age of 10, I can go on a hike with her, and so I need to stay fit because for her, she'll probably be able to do it. I don't know if I can or not. So right now, this whole fitness journey for me has really, she is like the motivating factor because I'm learning tennis. I mean, like I said, I enjoy tennis. I've always enjoyed watching tennis. Now I'm learning tennis so that at least when I may not be a good role model in sports for her, but at least I just want to be a role model for her to show up, like just show up and try and hard and just be there. And if I can do what Pallavi did with you guys, that would be like amazing. That's like my dream that if I can take Miraya at the age of 13 to average base camp and I can also make it with her, that would be like okay, now I can like die sort of thing. But that's
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah,
But
such
like
a
I'm telling
life.
you, you will remember this for rest of your life because like you said, the character building happens with experiences that pushes every element of yours, mental, emotional, and physical, right? So these are the ones that stays, and I'm sure you will soon sign up. I can already see you signing up for a lot of the other summit. Try to do summit next. Summits are a lot more
Fun.
a lot more
Yeah.
challenging. So once you finish your 12th, try to do a Stok Kangri. Stok Kangri is really good and equally hard but good.
Cool. I'll take a word for it. I'll definitely do it. So,
Yep.
how is your life like now? After Kilimanjaro, you have your daughter, you're learning tennis. What is your life like right now, and what do you want it to be like in the future? Maybe like, 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. And how is it, how are you just planning for the future?
Well, I'm not. At least one thing I've stopped is planning much because it doesn't go the way you plan. But so after Kili, I joined back Coke again, and I recently, like literally a month back, I quit again, and now I've decided not to go back to, or at least for now, I would not want to go back to a corporate setup. I just bought a house and we just moved to a new house. We're enjoying that space. I'm really liking this space and this pace of life where I can, I'm planning on starting something of my own. So there's a lot of work going on there. Who knows, which is why I don't want to plan because who knows what next 5 years is in store. But couple of things I will never will always be part of my life. One is, I would always want to stay fit. So exercising or picking up just learning a sport, whether or not I'm good at it, it doesn't matter, will be part of it. Meditation, I really believe in spirituality in the form of like, I love meditating. So I do a lot of it. I've taken up advanced courses there. So that will always be part. And then of course, being around for Miraya as she's growing up, navigating her life choices, just being there and let her be like, she's right now she takes up a lot of energy. She's a high energy, high girl. She needs a lot of, to engage with her it's a lot more physical because she loves her gymnastics, she loves her sport, she loves her swimming. We love reading, so a lot of that. But future, I mean, honestly, I hope I can make something out of this business idea that I have in mind and it pans out. If not, I'll continue to enjoy my routines with, my fitness journey, my spiritual journey, my journey with my daughter, and just be content with life. Right now, I'm just content with life, and I'm more and more grateful to God for being, giving me in the lack of a bit of a luxury to make these kind of choices. And that's that. I would love to write more. So I'm writing now. I mean, I used to write blogs for Huffington in between. So I do want to get back into some form of writing. So that is something I need to embed into my routine now. But yeah, I think like I just described, one of my future dream is to be able to do a joint adventure with my daughter, whether it's hiking, trekking, cycling, or even play tennis with her someday. But that's about it. So yeah, I'm in a nice quiet space in my life right now, which I'm enjoying.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. After everything you've done in your life, just to calm down a bit, I think that's the best area you can be in right now.
Yes,
So I think
absolutely.
I think that all for today. You talked about so much, and even if you've not inspired the viewers, me at least in my life, I'm definitely inspired by what you've talked about from doing these.
Now you're inspiring yourself. And look, I'm really proud, like I said in the beginning, I'm really proud of everything you are doing, reaching out, even this podcast. I mean, it's really impressive, Shivam. So again, congratulations.
It's really amazing what you've talked about today. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.